Have you ever said something foolish because you were thinking something foolish? Of course you have. I have too, just 5 minutes ago. Welcome to the Daily Devo. I am Vince Miller. First, a hearty welcome to all my friends from Stonebriar Church down in Texas. It was a great retreat weekend with you. Great getting to know you, and I'm glad you're here today. So backing up to yesterday's devotional, we discovered that David traveled south and learned that Nabal, a very wealthy man, was holding his annual sheep-shearing event and celebration, and David was seeking a little bit of generosity from this man, well, because they were countrymen and because his men were hungry and because David had provided Nabal with protection over the last few months, specifically to his shepherds, his sheep, and his servants. Now, to make this request, David is going to send 10 young warriors to ask Nabal for a little bit of his generosity. And here's what happens next in verses 9 all the way down through 13. When David's young men came, they said all this, and this is a little prepared speech that David gave them to say to Nabal in the name of David, and then they waited to hear his response, of course. And Nabal answered David's servants, "Who is David? Who is the son of Jesse? There are many servants these days who are breaking away from their masters." This guy's bold, is he not? "Shall I take my bread and my water and my meat that I have killed for my shears and give it to men who come from I don't know where?" I mean, you can almost hear the sass in this guy's statement. He is bold and arrogant. He is a fool. So David's young men turned away and came back and told him, that is David, all this. And David said to his men, "Every man strap on his sword." And every man of them strapped on his sword. David also strapped on his sword. That, of course, was probably Goliath's sword. And about 400 men went up after David, while 200 remained with the baggage or the supplies that were left behind. So here are a few observations first from this text. Number one, Nabal pretends not to know David, but he knows who David is. Everybody knows who David is. Even his enemies know who David is. His shepherds know because David has been protecting them for a while. But Nabal's resistance here becomes apparent when he refers to David as the son of Jesse. If you remember, this was Saul's derogatory name for David, which probably tells us he's aligned with Saul. Kind of like the party division we experience in our country right now. Nabal has a political sign in front of his yard, and it doesn't say, "Make Israel great again." Probably too soon. Again, probably a time I should have kept my mouth shut. Number two, another observation. To add insult to injury, Nabal compares David to a common slave and servant. Did you hear it? He says, there are many servants these days who are breaking away, running away from their masters. Big mistake. Third observation. Nabal displays his selfishness in how he gives his response. "Shall I take my bread and my water and my meat for my shears? My. Sounds like a little teenage girl here, doesn't he? This is fascinating. Now, Nabal's response is more selfish and sinister than just simply a simple no, isn't it? He's treating his fellow countrymen who have treated him with respect and charity and returning it with rejection and contempt. He is returning respect and charity with rejection and contempt. And David is insulted by this and arms 400 men to confront this foolish man. Compared to Saul, Nabal has no unique anointing and appointment by God. Thus, Nabal, whose name, by the way, means fool, is living up to the definition of his name in this instance. He puts himself in a pretty precarious situation. Now, Nabal is a fool not because of the political sign he has in his yard, but because he lacks relational tact, godly wisdom, and awareness that God has blessed him with, well, to be a blessing. He lacks relational tact, godly wisdom, and awareness. Nabal is a selfish and self-centered fool whose mouth spouts foolishness, and it's going to get him killed. Listen carefully. Your mouth exposes your heart. Your mouth exposes your heart. You might be able to fake it till you make it for a while about the things that you say, but if you feel cornered, threatened, or attacked, your mouth will eventually expose what your heart holds and what your brain believes. It will. Sometimes what is stirring around in your heart and your mind is not always right and righteous. True. So before you say something foolish today, address the foolishness within your heart and mind. Otherwise, when you're cornered or threatened or attacked, you might express foolishness and start a war that you will not win. I love you guys. I hope this has blessed you today. If it has, share it with someone else. And I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.